Welcome to The Less Stressed Life, all about making this your time to feel freaking awesome about your life, health, and happiness. This podcast of The Less Stressed Life is hosted by Krista Bigler. Krista is an integrative registered dietitian nutritionist who specializes in reducing food-related stress, inflammation, and symptoms of food sensitivities. She brings over a decade of nutrition expertise and playing with her food to the table. From coaching, teaching, writing, and working within a major food company to behind the scenes for a health celebrity. To learn more, visit lessstressedlife.com.
Hey. This week we're talking to my dear friend Ashley Sweeney, who just made her 6th move in 5 years, I think, to California, where she's now working full-time for Chalene Johnson. She's going to talk to us about moving. However, I felt that the tips that she gave were also great for any kind of travel or change in your life, like back to school. And I have 2 quick requests for you today. One would be, if you have some back to school tips, I'd love to feature them next week in our episode. Please send them to hello@lessstressedlife.com. And next week's episode is all about, by your request, supplements. All about if you should be taking them, what you should be taking, and if they're useful, basically. So if you have questions about supplements, make sure you get those questions over to hello@lessstressedlife.com as well. That episode will be airing later in the week than usual due to vacation, so you have a couple extra days, but don't delay because you know we both forget to do that. All right, today's Kitchen Ninja tip. Zucchini, it's full season, right? Are we in full swing for zucchini season? If you don't have a little zoodler to make zucchini noodles, first of all, if you've never tried zucchini noodles, you really should. They are delicious and they're amazing in Asian food, especially. So if you just do zucchini noodles with some protein and other veggies and do like an Asian sauce, really fantastic. No, you do not have to boil them. You just throw them in at the end after everything else is cooked and made and just warm them through and they're perfect. Now, if you don't have a zoodler, you can simply take a carrot peeler and just over the pan, like quickly make ribbons of zucchini with your carrot peeler. If you're in the market for a zucchini zoodler or a zoodler in general, some of them work for zucchini and some of them work for other big vegetables. But just to keep it light and small, I think the best one right now is the OXO is a really interesting one I've seen. And I think it's like $4 or $5. I'll put it in the show notes. And once you're super just sick of zucchini and zoodles, I usually take the big dog zucchinis at the end of the season, put them in the food processor, and pure them into, shredded hash so I can make zucchini hash or something else throughout the year. Let me know if you put that Kitchen Ninja tip to use or if you have better ideas for zucchini. And before I forget, happy birthday, Ashley. Off to the show.
So today I'm so excited to be having Ashley Sweeney on the show. And Ashley is a friend of mine for this last year. She's a registered dietitian, a military wife, and a mom to 2 young babies and runs her own online nutrition business. She's also the lead dietitian for Chalene Johnson's innovative new nutrition program. Ashley is originally from Michigan, but has lived all over the country for school and for her husband's military career. She graduated with her degree from Syracuse University and then completed her master's and dietetic internship from Case Western Reserve University in Ohio. I believe that's right.
Yes.
So, Ashley, welcome to The Less Stressed Life. I'm so
Thank you,
excited
Krista.
that you're here. And I met Ashley online, which would have sounded so creepy, like 5 or 7 or 10, I don't know how long ago. Maybe it still sounds creepy to people. I doubt it if they're listening to a podcast. But we met in an online dietitian group. We were both kind of looking for an accountability partner. We had similar business and background and goals, and so we kind of just checked in every week to kind of keep us focused and moving forward. And I just have to mention, I just wanted to tell people that are listening about that because I think that can be such a meaningful thing. And even when you come in and out of different accountability relationships, if you kind of reflect back, I don't know about you, but if I reflect back, accountability has really changed my life, honestly, working with other people in that capacity and just having someone to watch your back. And sometimes having one person, isn't enough. Obviously, you and I were both committed enough to stay in touch, but it's good to have multiple people sometimes. So anyway, it can really make a big difference. So yes, but the one thing that I really noticed about Ashley, and I asked her to come on and talk about today, is that in the time that I've known her, maybe 8 months or just this last year, right now you're preparing for your second move for your husband's career. And so how many moves have you guys made overall together?
Yeah, so this will be our fifth move in our sixth house. We've been married almost 6 years, so we average a house a year is what I joke about. But we moved one time ourselves just down the road to a bigger house before our baby was born. But yeah, we move quite a bit, and they tend to be right around the holidays or my birthday. So I told my husband eventually, you're going to have to get me a real present other than a new house.
I noticed how immediately calm and cool and collected you were after you moved. I mean, even though you're packing up now, presently, 2 little girls. I mean, your little one is maybe 7 or 9 months old. How old is she?
Yeah, she's 10 months, and she'll be right around a year by the time we get settled into our new house, and then my other one's almost 3.
Gotcha. Yeah, so that's a handful, honestly.
Definitely.
And so, I mean, not that long ago, you just moved across country. I'm trying to remember. I think you were in Georgia, right? And then you moved to Arizona? Yeah.
Yep, we moved from Georgia, and then we came out to Arizona, and this is only a 6-month temporary stop in the road, and then we will head out to California next. So,
I just remember you mentioning in our accountability check-ins, like, I really need to just get settled in this week, and I'm going to have everything unpacked and ready to go, like, within the week. And honestly, I've moved a fair amount of times. Not anymore. I have permanent roots now. And I've seen my family and friends move, and I've seen boxes in the corner for months, if not years. And there's just something about kind of that, like, physical baggage that I think can kind of pull us down, right? Because our environment is such a big piece of our well-being. So I wondered if you were always like that, if you always kind of got right into it. And tell me more about, like, how do you do that? How do you master moving in a week?
Yeah. So, no, I don't think I was always like this. But in high school, we had kind of a crazy family situation, and things were kind of rough. And then when I was looking at colleges, my mom was actually the one that encouraged me to go away, to get out of the area in a healthy, positive way, to get a kind of a fresh start. And so I moved to a new state. I didn't know anybody. And then I continued to travel abroad where I didn't know anyone or I didn't speak the language. So up until that point, I was never really pushed out of my comfort zone. I lived in a very safe little community. I was always in my own little bubble. So it kind of started there. And then when my husband, when we got married and we started moving around a bunch, I just, I don't really know how I got so comfortable, but it did. I mean, I'm such a homebody, and I'm really an introvert. My home is my comfort place where I love to be at home. So for us, home is where the Army sends you. And it sounds so cliche, but Army families, military families really do feel that way. So my home is with my family. My home is with the things that make me feel comfortable. I really just feel like there's some things that are worth worrying over and other things you have no control over. So the Army told us where and when to move, and I don't have control over that, but how I react to that, how I manage that move, that is up to us. So, you want me to elaborate some examples?
Did you always feel that way, or was there a time when you felt a little more harried and a little more crazy?
Yeah, it was hard at first to get used to this lifestyle and these moves. It just was. It really was hard at first. I got involved really quickly with my husband encouraging me, not pushing me in any type of way, but I realized that if this is going to be my new home, I better get settled in quickly. So not even the material things of unpacking, but getting involved with the community right away. So I joined different spouses groups. There's always events for spouses wherever you go. Different units, different FRGs, different volunteering, different groups for spouses, and there's all types of settings. So sometimes just because of the nature of the event or who's there, you don't always feel comfortable. But I realized I'm never going to know until I explore, and I usually would find at least one person that I became friends with or that I had communication with that I got along with. And so I just found that even if I only found one person at those events, that was a success, and that helped me get more comfortable and help me again continue to kind of grow my comfort zone and continue to try other events and go to other events that I wasn't comfortable with going to in the first place, but I just had to go.
So were you always kind of adventurous then?
I would say not until college. So not until that first big move away from home was I was very just really always just in my own little bubble. So I wouldn't say I've always been this way. I think my move to a new school, and then my husband's very outgoing, adventurous personality, he definitely helps push me.
That's kind of the beauty of relationships sometimes. You're supposed to benefit the other person, right? So I have wanderlust really
Definitely.
bad, so I love that you went to Italy. Was that for school or for a career move?
It was. I studied abroad there. I studied actually the Mediterranean diet, and it was amazing. And I traveled around Europe for a little while and just had a lot of fun doing that. So with the Army, too, we've lived all over the country now. If we moved straight from the East Coast, now we're moving straight to the West Coast. But it's funny because things with the Army just change so quick. So you never really know what's going to happen until you get there.
Wow. Yeah, I think that could put a person on edge for sure. And it kind of sounds like you got really good at it. So along the way, did you add some things to your life, like to make the frequent moves more manageable with a baby and toddler? Like, do you have any tips to share? I mean, since you're so experienced, do you have, something that you want to share with our audience? Like, if you were going to be making a move, even if you're not moving all the time, maybe you've made a move and you're still trying to get settled down. What tips do you have for people? Yeah, definitely. So a few things would be I have maybe 4 or 5 tips that I think could help other moms who are moving. The first is just to ask for help. I mean, you're always going to have friends who you feel like they offer just to say who are just being polite. But a lot of times those friends are genuine, and take them up on their offer. Sometimes we're martyrs to ourselves and we try to do it all ourselves, and we don't have to. You just don't have to do it all yourself just to say you did it yourself. And I think that's something I did in the beginning was, kind of, oh, woe is me. I have to move all the way across here all by myself. Oh my gosh, woe is me. This is so hard. And I find some women they like that themselves. They like to do everything themselves, but you just don't have to, and that is unneeded stress that you're putting upon yourself. Mm-hmm. The second one would be to pick and choose your battles and what's worth worrying over or stressing over. I mean, like I said, we have no control sometimes over where we're moving. We thought we were moving at one point to Italy as a couple before we had kids, and then turns out we got sent to Georgia. We thought another time we were moving to D.C. We had about 6 months till we were moving to D.C. And then 10 days later, we were moving across the state to a different station. Like, we don't know sometimes. And so I could get really bogged down with that worry. But my husband and I are really open with communication, and he just tells me all the time, what's changing? Here's a new option. Here's what could happen. And at first, I let that stuff really worry me too. The possibility of us just moving, or the possibility of him going to a different school or a different training or going abroad. And I would really get worried over what would happen if that happened. And I just realized that instead of worrying about those what ifs, we just have to live in the moment, because a lot of times those are just his thoughts of what could happen and just options. So instead of dwelling on that, we just learn to discuss, talk about the pros and cons of everything, and really make all those decisions moving forward as a family. That's amazing.
The third,
you guys are great communicators.
And that's something too that has helped with all this, because I think if we didn't communicate well with when one of us is stressed or when something is going wrong, then it wouldn't work out either. It would make our traveling and our moves much more difficult. But the third thing that I think would help were we always get this communication? No. My husband and I have been married about 6 years, but we knew each other for way longer before that. And I think that just comes with time, with couples growing together. And so that was definitely something our early years of marriage. And even before we got married, we were always long distance with his deployments. So we had to learn how to communicate. And so that was just the deployments and the time apart before kids, and building our relationship and our communication before kids makes it easier now.
Right. Okay, so you're giving us some tips.
Yeah.
Not to dwell.
So
and what was the first one?
Yep, the first one was to ask for help and take friends up on their offers.
Okay.
The second one was to pick and choose your battles. And then the third one is to remember that life is always an adventure, and our kids will feel that way if we make them feel that way. They don't need to know when things are going wrong or when there are problems that the parents have to deal with. I really think the kids need to feel safe and secure at all times throughout the moving process. And an example of that was when we were driving one time, and so many things were going wrong with this trip. It was storming, and the power was out, and there were trees down everywhere. You couldn't see anything. It was way past bedtime. We were supposed to have already been at a destination. It was just a mess. But I knew that if I was to let on with how stressed I really was, the kids would feel it. The girls would feel it. So the next day my husband said to me, wow, you were really calming today, and wow, the girls were so patient the whole day. Weren't you stressed out? And I laughed at him, and I was, oh my gosh, yes, I was. I was furious at you because you put us in that position to drive that day. I was so mad at you. I was so stressed, but the girls didn't need to know that. They didn't need to feel that either, because I think that kids feel our energy and that they can fuel off that. So I just didn't want to add to the situation and add to the stress. So I entertained them. I preoccupied them. I just dealt with it. And then it was an adventure. We just made it out to be an adventure. And another time we were flying across the country, and a whole 2-hour plane ride ended up being a whole day with 2 kids by myself. And they didn't know that we weren't supposed to be taking 10 plane rides. They just knew we were going up and down and up and down. And it was exciting, and it was fun, and it just had to be an adventure. So that's something that I think with kids is so important, to make them feel secure, make them feel safe, and they don't need to worry when things are going wrong.
I just have such a big smile plastered on my face because you can just hear what a good mom you are. And just, I have a husband that does well with that as well. He just, he always makes it seem like if something's going wrong, he always just makes it seem like it's the way it's supposed to be for the kids. So, it just makes me smile that you say all that. So, very good. I think that is that number 4?
Yeah, that was number 3. And then number 4 is just to talk about it with kids and let them know what to expect. I mean, mine's only 3, and so we don't have a lot to talk about except her getting a new room and a new bed. And, there's not much there, but she's excited about moving to California and her new bed, and just, we get all adventure, and we're just talking about what's coming.
That is so awesome. Very good tips. So we're both dietitians, and I know that health is very important to you. So traveling all the time, I mean, this is something we talk to clients about. When you're traveling, it's kind of hard to be on your game, and you feel more stressed out. I mean, this might be too much information for some people, but probably not if they're listening to this show. People who are traveling, it affects their bowel movements. We have more underlying stress than we think. So what are some things that you do to keep your family maybe more healthy during these moves, or just kind of like make them feel more at home?
Yeah, so I'm a planner and I'm a prepper when it comes to meals and snacks. So I just always make sure we have healthy things with us and that we're not leaving it to chance with drive-through or fast food. And those things happen sometimes, and it just is part of life. But if we're driving, we find parks to play at. We walk around, or we've even just found a Walmart to walk up and down the aisles when the weather wasn't so great. So those are little things we do actually during the move. And then before and after the move is when my meal planning really becomes even more important. And I teach meal planning to busy moms, and that's my program, my Mommy Feeding Family course. And I really live by that. I teach it. I preach I practice what I preach. I really do try to do my best to make sure I have healthy things available for my family. And I don't really make exceptions, because when we don't eat well, we feel off, and we're already dealing a lot of times with time zone changes and new places. And I don't want to throw a bunch of junk into our systems to mess with that even more.
Right. I totally agree. And just having a plan is so helpful, because you don't want to get stuck with kids, because it seems like every single time they're all on a different schedule. Their stuff seems to be, right? And you're supposed to kind of allow them to kind of choose and not, force them to eat a certain time. So it's really good to have plans, especially if you're stuck in the car or traveling for so long. I heard a phrase one time. I mean, we're talking about kind of like some regular moves, and we talked a little bit about what if someone has been somewhere for a while and kind of what are some tips. But, I heard a phrase once that stuck with me really hard. And the reason it stuck with me so hard is because I moved to a very unexpected place when I followed my new husband back to his family farm, and it was not at all where I expected to end up whatsoever, and I really didn't love it right away. And it did take about 2 years for it to feel like home, which is the expression that I'd heard my cousin use one time, that it takes about 2 years for a place to feel like home. But that might not be the case with you. You don't get 2 years in one place. So what's your gut reaction if another mom or wife in your situation, or just anyone, wants to speed up that process significantly?
Yeah. So I give myself 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, to get everything unpacked and ready. And I'm not even a control freak, but like I said, I just like to be home. So when packing, label everything super specific. Just really get your labeling down. Then when you're unpacking, it can go right to where it needs to be. And there's no wondering about where certain things are if something got lost, because you have a system for your labeling and your tracking of all your items. And to get help. So occasionally we've been in a situation where we could fly a mother or sister or my mother-in-law out to help us with the move process, and that really helped, having somebody to watch the kids. And sometimes in the military you can get the Army moves you or the military moves you. But if you're not moving with the military, you can look online for movers who will come with 4 guys in a truck or whatever for 4 hours, and they'll unpack everything off the truck because there's 4 or 6 of them, and it's way cheaper than you think, and then you just direct them where to go, where things need to go, and you can stand there and start unpacking right away. And I think those types of things outweigh the cost. Kind of, if you do a cost benefit or a stress benefit analysis here, that type of stress relief is so worth it to me. So those are some of the things that we do that kind of make it easy right away.
Right. Back to choosing your battles, right? Like, that's at the end of the day, you have to decide what is your peace of mind worth, and at some point you just have to be willing to invest in that if this is something that you know is right for you, right?
Exactly.
When you're following your husband around, it's kind of hard to settle down and have a brick and mortar career per se. So you've been growing your own private practice for about 4 years or so. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how do you deal with mom and wife guilt, if any, that you have when trying to create your own career amidst working around your husband's career? And that's kind of like the dynamic, I think, of any married couple or people in a partnership.
Yeah, it really is. And I guess the thing is that I have always loved what I do. Like, I've always loved my work. It's why I went into the field of nutrition. So I'm really passionate about my work. I didn't see it as an option not to continue. I really do love what I do. So having kids fueled me even more. So I had the option as soon as I had my daughter to stay working with the company I was working with at one of the duty stations we were at. But I just decided that I was going to do my own thing full time. And having kids, like I said, just really fueled me, because I realized how many moms are lacking support or lacking proper nutrition, and they're lacking proper advice. Our pediatricians, OBs, Facebook groups for moms, and Pinterest, there's just so much misinformation out there. So I really felt called to do my part even more. And my husband has always been really amazing in this area, and he is so supportive, and he knows that sometimes I need to do calls at night, or I need to catch up on work instead of just chilling and Netflixing, and he'll help out with the girls if I have to do a call or a podcast like this. Like, he's amazing. He's outside with the girls right now just so we could have a quiet house for a little bit. And so we're open with our communication, and we talk about goals. We talk about what we're working on. And I think that has been something that has really been helpful too, because he knows that some of my goals for my business are going to take a little bit of priority sometimes over just chilling out sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sounds like your next course could be about goal setting for couples.
Yeah.
But so did creating your own thing kind of become a survival mechanism, or was it just totally natural? I mean, for someone listening that is maybe in a similar situation or doesn't love what they're doing, what kind of insight can you offer in that?
Yes, I think having my own thing is a survival mechanism, because it's also something I think more moms need to do. Not necessarily starting your own business, but a hobby outside of our children. I mean, motherhood's amazing. I don't need to go into that. We all know it is. And motherhood is my identity. But sometimes I think us moms need to fill our cup with something outside of our babies and, get kind of restored mentally with using our adult brain cells and talking to other adults or working on a project that takes critical analytical thinking and doing something outside of our home that makes us feel like we are, that we have a brain. And I think that we can be better mothers and better spouses when we have our own thing, whatever that thing is for moms.
Absolutely. Amen. And that's actually largely why I love this podcast so much, because it gives me a chance to talk to other adults and tell about and learn and then share it with other people. So it's such a blast. And this is, even though we're just talking online, I got my matcha tea latte here. I don't know what you're drinking. So I'm definitely having virtual coffee day with you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so good. So where can people find you if they want to know more about you or maybe want to work with you or maybe interested in your, I think you mentioned your program. Where can they learn more?
Yeah, so if there are any moms who are interested in meal planning and feeding your family healthy, it's not even just about meal planning, but you can go to mommyfeedingfamily.com. It's all one word, and I actually have a coupon code for your listeners. They can type in the coupon code Krista for $20 off. But if you're not a mom or you're not interested in a program like that, my website is just ashleysweeneynutrition.com, and I think you'll see all my links to all my social media stuff on there.
Oh, it was so nice of you to offer that to them. I mean, I read a self-care article the other day about types of self-care, which is like my underlying passion project, right? Mm-hmm. Self-care and how wanting moms to have more self-care, especially newer moms. And it kind of mentioned about, when you take 5 minutes for this or 10 minutes to just plan a meal for the next couple of days or 15 minutes for, just to stop and relax and refocus, just even turning the radio off on the way home, something like that. Those self-care things pay back in triple all the time. They give you more time. So there is definitely benefits to that. And I'm sure you have more benefits listed on your site. So anyway, that's awesome that you offer that. And I just appreciate you so much as a person.
Oh, thank you.
And I've always, I can just tell that Ashley might be a little more organized than I am. And when she had all of her stuff up on her wall, and I'm thinking, I took 2 years to decorate. I was impressed, and I thought there's got to be something to gain for our audience on, it doesn't matter if you're moving all the time, even though I think there's plenty of people in your situation for sure, and that's part of it, right, connecting to those people. But I think there's all things we can learn about from some of the tips that you gave that can benefit our life. And I hear all this underlying stuff, and I just kind of wonder, Ashley, are you a personal development junkie?
Definitely, of course. So I can't not listen to a podcast while I'm driving or have an audiobook on when I'm out for a run and all the time.
Yeah, well, personal development junkies unite. I mean, I know that was a life-changing thing. It's that was another way to early exercise my adult brain cells.
Definitely.
So, I loved what you said about that. So thank you so much for coming on today and sharing with our listeners a little bit about your very personal story and the backside, the inside of Ashley Sweeney. So
thank you, Krista. Thanks for having me.